Well, what's up, Wasteland? There has been so much exciting Fallout news happening right now with the CEO of Xbox, Asha Sharma, giving Fallout over to Obsidian to produce the next game. Thought we could talk about all of it, what we know, or what we think we know, wishes for the future. Let's just tackle it all. First thing out of the way, a lot of this comes from the reporting of such luminaries as Jason Schreier, Jez Corden, and of course, Chris Avellone, along with podcasts and other things I've seen on the internets. I just want to say to all the Xbox employees that were laid off last week, I feel awful for you. I've been laid off myself. I know how terrible and crushing that is, and I hope you all land on your feet. Okay, so first, let's talk about what we kind of know about this new Obsidian Fallout. First of all, it seems like Josh Sawyer is going to be the project lead, or the director, creative director, lead director, knowing Josh, probably systems director too. It seems like at the time, he's been working on a game that was pitched to Bethesda as a Fallout title, but then Bethesda nixed it. I guess this was while Phil Spencer was still in charge. So it seems like there's already been a lot of work put into that game, and that work could potentially be ported back into Fallout and maybe get this thing out a little bit faster. Now, Josh has been making the podcast interview circuit lately. You should hunt those all down and watch them. And he has said in many of those interviews his thoughts on Fallout, what would make a good Fallout game, and that he would be glad to work on a new Fallout title. So all this stuff about Obsidian being forced against their will is just stuff. Now, apparently, Tim Kaine came back to Obsidian to work on another game, which he said at the time was not Fallout. And John Gonzalez, the lead writer of Fallout New Vegas, had also come back to Obsidian to work on another title, not Fallout. That title has been canceled or put on hold, and it seems like it was probably going to be a new Shadowrun game. But now both of those two are freed up. Avowed 2 development has been also canceled, put on hold. Apparently there's a small team still kind of keeping the lights on. I know a lot of people are like, why are they doing another Avowed? I hated that game. It seems like it sold enough copies that a quick asset flip with a new story was going to be a profitable idea. Xbox greenlit it for a reason. I don't think it was just for funsies. They did look at Outer Worlds 2 and say, well, we probably shouldn't do an Outer Worlds 3. So it's not like they're not looking at the numbers. Something about Avowed did well enough that Xbox decided to go through with it, like it or not. It's been reported that Bethesda is going to be helping out with the development of this new Obsidian Fallout. My guess is it would be technology-wise, like helping Obsidian work in the latest version of the Creation engine. Seems Obsidian's more comfortable working in Unreal, and a lot of people are like, oh, we can't take Fallout out of Creation, which I find really funny because all people have been doing for years is bagging on the Creation engine and how terrible it is and how Fallout needs to move to Unreal. And then when it looks like it could possibly happen, people want to keep Creation like it's a comfort blanket or something. I mean, I thought you guys hated loading screens. Personally, I would like to see Fallout in Unreal. I think Obsidian is comfortable working with it. They could move it along a lot faster, and it would be a clean break from the Bethesda era of Fallout. I know it's a big change, but remember, a lot of people, old people like me, had to embrace going from isometric to 3D. So kind of the same thing. So that's what we know, and admittedly, it isn't much, but these are still really early days. Nothing's been officially announced, and it's all subject to change. Of course, the sources this information is coming from are very good ones, so I think more likely than not, a lot of this stuff is going to pan out. So now, what would I like to see in an Obsidian Fallout? First up, role-playing. Choices that matter, a reactive world, branching storylines that are closed off if you choose the wrong way or your character is built slightly different. And most importantly, an ending that makes me want to restart the game, play it with a differently configured character, just to see how much the game changes. I don't want to play a 600-hour game where I see and do everything in one playthrough. I want like a 50 to 60 hour game where I play it one way as a gun guy, and then I decide, nah, I'm going to go through the second time and play it as like a stealth explosives guy. High speech, high intelligence, low intelligence, and I want all those things to actually make a difference and change the story in regard to how I play it. Fallout 4 lets you pretty much max everything out in one playthrough and see everything that there is to see. It's not an approach I find very interesting. Second, bring back special skills, perks, traits. I really dislike the way the skill tree was dumbed down for Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. Didn't even feel like I was playing a role-playing game anymore, just felt like I'm playing a shooter with some enhancements to your character. Something like you would get in an Assassin's Creed game. I thought Bethesda really did a good job streamlining the trees from 1 and 2 for Fallout 3, which was carried over to New Vegas. I thought that was a great direction. That was about as simplistic as it needed to be. Now, maybe some improvements can be made to that, but I would like to see that core skill tree with special from before. I want to feel like my character's growth is more than just increasing damage output. I want the speech checks and the skill checks and all that other stuff. I want the traits. I want it to actually matter while I'm playing the game, and it changed the outcome of the game. Third, I want a deep story that ruminates on how the world rebuilds itself after a nuclear apocalypse, how factions and their visions collide. The main character should be in service to the world. The world shouldn't be in service to the main character. I want a story that the fans are debating 10 years from now because it was so thought-provoking. No more lost relatives or lost overseer. I see you, Fallout 76. Fourth, no settlements. Get the Minecraft and Sims crap out of here. Nothing was more immersion breaking than adding that stuff to the game. It broke not only the story of Fallout 4, but it also broke the role-playing. If I'm a soldier or lawyer who is frozen in time, why am I suddenly an architect and an engineer? Now, there's ways to do base building in games. See Pillars of Eternity, see Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2, and you can do that without shattering the immersion, without shattering the role-playing. Bethesda can take settlements and camps and shelters and everything else and put them in a separate game. And finally, and this is probably a dream, but can we decanonize Fallout 76 and the TV show? Some of you might not agree with me on the TV show, but I just think both of those properties have done damage to the lore, and they've really hamstrung the world, that trying to take everything that happens in those two things in regard when building future games was going to be problematic. So that's my wish list for Obsidian Fallout. What are some of the things that you want to see? Okay, so now I want to talk about all these guys, it's mostly guys, that have been working the comments sections like they're getting paid for it to trash Obsidian and just go on and on and on about how the OG Obsidian is gone and none of the OGs are there anymore and everything's woke and gay. All right, look, if you didn't like the Outer Worlds 1 and Avowed and Outer Worlds 2, that's fine. You're entitled to that. I happen to like Outer Worlds 1 a whole lot. I've played through it numerous times. Avowed I thought was pretty fun, a little shallow. The only one that really disappointed me was Outer Worlds 2. There was just a lot of things they did there I didn't love, even though I think the world's pretty neat. But anyway, none of those games had Josh Sawyer as the director. The last game that he directed for Obsidian was Pentiment, which is an absolute banger. If you have not played Pentiment, you are missing out. No, it's not an action RPG. It's an RPG. So it might be a little scary for some of you that just want to shoot things. It's a great game. It's deep. It's thought-provoking. It's one of 2 games that I've played in my entire life that made me tear up a little bit. So it's very moving. Highly recommend it. Josh Sawyer is there and he's going to be running the show. Also at Obsidian right now, you have Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky, the guys that created Fallout. They're about as OG gets. And yes, these guys are also the ones that led the Outer Worlds. So for you Outer Worlds haters, that might be a problem, but you can't argue Tim and Leonard are not OGs. John Gonzalez, the lead writer on Fallout New Vegas. came back to Obsidian last year. His game was canceled, and since it's all hands on deck for this new Fallout, I can only assume that John is going to be writing on it. Let's not forget that although Josh Sawyer would probably not refer to himself as a writer, he did write Joshua motherfucking Graham. And John Gonzalez gave us Benny, Mr. House, Randall Clark, Kaiser. Some of the greatest characters in Fallout history were written by those two guys. That should give you some comfort. Fergus Urquhart, he is the CEO of Obsidian, more in an executive leadership role, it's true. But he worked both on Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. Again, as OG as it gets. You've also got Brian Menzies in the house. He has been doing artwork for Fallout since Fallout 2. His designs are amazing. Some of the stuff you love, the Legion armor, the Sunset Sarsaparilla. Check out his Instagram and you can see some of his concept art. It's great. He's at Obsidian, another OG. So this really is a case of getting the band back together. The old guys have been put in charge to do one last score. So when people say there's none of the old guard left at Obsidian, show them this list. And if they're not bots sent out by Todd to trash Obsidian, maybe they'll finally realize that they've been spreading disinformation. And for you Obsidian haters out there, Matt Hansen got laid off last week. He can't hurt you anymore. Let's just move on. But of course, when the culture warriors out there are whining about everyone being gone from Obsidian, they're really just talking about one person, that person being Chris Avellone. Now Chris, again, another OG. Very important to both Fallout 2 and Fallout New Vegas. He left Obsidian back in 2015. I think it had something to do with Fergus, had nothing to do with the allegations. That came 5 years later. I see a lot of people mixing those two things up. They are separate. And Chris has been exonerated. Now, Chris Avellone is a genius. Planescape Torment was my all-time favorite game in the world until Fallout New Vegas came along. Now that's my all-time favorite. And I would love to see him working on this new Fallout. I don't know how that would work. I guess he'd have to be a freelancer. And again, he and Fergus seem to have some beef, so I don't know how friendly that would all be. Maybe Asha would say, make it happen. But let's keep in mind, although Chris's contributions to Fallout New Vegas were great and many, he was not the lead writer on that project. The lead writer was John Gonzalez, who is back at Obsidian, like I said earlier. Now, Chris did do the lead on 3 of the Fallout DLCs, one of them being Lonesome Road. So all you guys that always make fun of Ulysses, just remember you got Chris to thank for that. I'm just kidding, Chris. I love you, and I like Ulysses too. Now, both Chris Avellone and Josh Sawyer have been doing the podcast rounds lately. They have a lot of interviews that have been popping up on YouTube the past couple of weeks. I implore you to hunt them all down, listen and learn. I'll post the links below. All right, now let's talk about Todd and Bethesda a little bit. I know a lot of people seem to be taking this opportunity to dance on Bethesda's grave, and some of the criticism is rightly deserved. I mean, I personally don't wish ill on anyone, but it just seems like the fans have been asking for something for years and years and years, and Bethesda has just been remarkably, stubbornly tone deaf in that regard. We keep getting more and more Fallout 76 content when there just doesn't seem to be that much of an audience for it. And the stuff that they have been pushing out has just flanderized and trivialized the brand so much that I think it's actually starting to do damage to the Fallout name. I personally haven't played Fallout 76 in about 4 years. Just the stuff that they're adding just seems silly. It's almost like they're turning it into Fortnite. But Bethesda does seem to have this habit of chasing trends rather than making their own or just staying true to who they are. Saw that a little bit in Fallout 4 when they started making it more like Mass Effect meets Minecraft. I'm also not a big fan of the TV show, but I'll save that for another discussion. But I just want to say I give Todd and Bethesda all the credit in the world for making Fallout the juggernaut that it is today. Even though I've been a gamer all my life and a PC gamer in the 90s, somehow the Fallout titles escaped me. So the first Fallout game I played was Fallout 3. And, when I was playing it, I was really enjoying it. Did have problems with it, but I was like, oh, this is a lot of fun. Well, once I finished it, I went back and played Fallout 1 and 2, and I was like, wow, I feel really stupid for not playing these when they were new, because these games are amazing. And Fallout New Vegas was just more of that. So thank you, Todd, for turning me on to this franchise. But I just feel like since Fallout 4 and especially Fallout 76, Bethesda just doesn't seem to have it in them anymore to do a great Fallout game. They seem to have boiled Fallout down to its most iconic parts, Cap's vault suit, Brotherhood of Steel, power armor, oldies music, to sell to a mainstream audience. And it's really lost the two things that Fallout was really about all along: choice and consequence. Now it's just more like an empowerment fantasy, and I just don't think that really makes for a compelling game. But with Josh and Tim on the job, I'm hoping choice and consequence are coming back big time in this next Obsidian title. And Bethesda is supposed to be helping Obsidian with the new game. I'm thinking it's probably going to be along the lines of engine stuff if they stay in creation, kind of like the way Bethesda worked with Obsidian for New Vegas. They were hands-off on most things. They interceded on a couple of lore bits, but it was mostly just technical. I'm hoping that stays the case here because I don't think deep storytelling is Bethesda's strong suit. And additionally, Bethesda sounds like they're going to have their hands full with the Elder Scrolls 6, which I'm hoping they knock it out of the park because they really need to do something great after Starfield. And in conclusion, in my opinion, the two best Fallout games are Fallout New Vegas, which is my favorite game of all time, and Fallout 2, which I also think is amazing. What do those two games have in common? Well, they were both asset flips that had to be turned around in a really short period of time, launched with a lot of bugs, but had great story, great RPG mechanics, and are well regarded to this day. The guys that made those games are working at Obsidian right now. Now, I'm not expecting a whole lot of flashy new mechanics and graphics and all that stuff. And honestly, I don't want it. We keep getting that, and it's always disappointing. I want a rich story. I want focus on my character and the role playing. If Josh really was already working on a Fallout-like game, then a lot of that is probably already on its way to being flipped over back to Fallout. And maybe we'll see something in the next 3 years. Not, 10 to 15 like Bethesda was saying. It's okay to miss things, but I think we've missed single-player Fallout long enough. But it's the early days. Everything is still subject to change. What do you guys think about all this? What do you think about the rumors? What do you want to see in an Obsidian Fallout? Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will catch you out in the wasteland.